our next speaker for the day, we're really excited about this, is a registered dietitian from here in Miami, and works with a lot of folks in managing diet, nutrition, with a special emphasis in cardiovascular health and improving cardiovascular health. And she has agreed to come with us today to share her expertise in a very informal setting, and definitely wants a lot of back and forth as she talks to us today. So welcome to Ms. Claudia Correa.
Thank you. Okay, easier. I tend to walk and wave a lot. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for waiting for my little speech here. I'm Claudia Correa. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also a health and wellness coach. And also I took a class during the quarantine where I learned how to teach people how to cook to better their health. So I'm a chef coach also. And of course, the course was all online, virtual classes and all of that, but I did really get a lot out of it. I'm here representing Florida Heart. They're like family. I used to be part of the team when they started in Miami back in the day. I won't share how old we are, but I definitely keep them in my heart. And I was so pleased to, for them to invite me to speak here. So some of the things that I always like to talk about is my experience as a dietitian, because I know I'm not a clinical dietitian. I did work in a hospital back then. I did all my rotations, but I really fell in love with community nutrition, and that's why I ended up at the Institute. So we were doing a lot of community events, talking to people about health risk factors, nutrition, diet, exercise. So very passionate about that. And I'm a mother of two, so I preach and I do what I preach, and I love to get them involved in cooking and getting everyone involved into loving healthy foods. I was very pleased to see the lunch today because I did eat my vegetables. If anyone was paying attention, I know they were paying attention. But that's important, right? And I know for many of you, you have experience with your family or with patients or clients. And we were talking about that before, that people still don't know the basics of nutrition, right? It's hard. It's hard because there is a lot of information coming in. Social media is huge, right? My daughter gets a lot of information on, the specific diet or whatever she's up to with a recipe from TikTok, right? Are you guys on TikTok? No, you can confess. Yeah, we won't say anything. But honestly, I know there are many dietitians on social media, which is great because we need that representation there as well, right? Very important when I see a lot of people from many different cultural backgrounds and different jobs. I work a lot with personnel from our sheriff's office, people that work, with different shifts, and people that work at schools. I work a lot with teachers and administrative staff. So you can imagine the stress that they go through every single day. Cardiovascular disease is always like the number one with the people that I see, the one condition that they get referred to me for. And when you start talking to my clients, what I find most of the time is that they still lack the basic knowledge of what should I eat, what's a protein, what's a carbohydrate. My doctor told me I'm borderline diabetic. I need to lower my cholesterol. I'm on a statin, but what else, right? They really are not giving a lot of instruction on nutrition. So my goal for them on that first visit is just to get them to like me, so they come back to me, so I can keep educating them. And honestly, it's more about building that rapport, right? Getting them to know me, what's my approach, and getting them to understand why is this so important. Even for them to understand why were they given this medication, right? Because they heard, here is the pill, or go to CVS, get your prescription filled, but they don't really know how it's acting. So I'm big on making little drawings for them, pulling out videos, showing them how is this affecting what, how is that your sugar is going up when you eat that piece of cake, or all that sugar in your coffee, all that cream in your coffee, how is that affecting your insulin, what's the work. So, and that's what I find that it's more relevant to them, because now they see it now. Okay, I need to take this pill because this is what it's doing in my body. And that's where you start with the education. So I'm big on education, and with any of the medical conditions that, you know, the risk factors for cardiovascular disease, whereas high blood pressure, the diabetes, smoking, all of those need to be touched, and you want to see where your patient is coming from. I'm not going to start talking to them about cholesterol in the pizza that they're eating. You know, if they're still smoking, that's my priority, right? I'm not an expert on smoking cessation, but I'm going to make sure that they get out of my consultation a referral, or at least the awareness that that's one of the things they need to do first. So it's like meeting them where they are, helping them understand, and then giving them the little extra homework, right, for them to do on their own. So one example, I had a client that came, she had mid-50s, so she had a stroke, diabetes for over 10 years or so, but she had a lot of stress, right? Going through divorce, taking care of a grandson. So when she came in, she was anxious, like overly anxious. She couldn't sit still. And she was telling me all these medications she's taking. And then all of a sudden she stopped. And I said, what do you want from me? How can I help you? Okay, I live, you know, my grandson is at home. I need to take care of him. I don't know what to cook. And he's eating a lot of this. Obviously, she wanted to be there because she got scared from the event that just occurred. But her priority and maybe her motivation was the grandson, right? That's what she brought up. Okay, how are we gonna get her to eat healthier and at the same time feed the grandson good, healthy food? And we just went from there. What are your breakfasts? Like, what are you eating? Okay, maybe we're gonna change it. We're not gonna go through McDonald's every morning. We're gonna start making a nice breakfast sandwich at home. Let's start with this. And that's how she started to listen. So she came in, when she came in, she was not listening. She was just, you know, going on and on and on. So once I found out what was her motivation, which for her was the health of her grandson, then that's where I started to build up. I can tell you, it's been over 2 years or so that she's been my client. She's in a very good place now with her health. She's taking only one medication for cholesterol. She's taking her metformin, nothing else. She was off the insulin. She got to lose weight because she then got involved in exercise with her grandson, and she's doing great. So it's just the little steps can lead to the great changes, and for her it really paid off. And you know, she's at a better place. And I understand for a lot of us, you know, like when they talk about coaching with your clients, is having the ear, right? Like open your eyes, but listen to what they're saying and try to find the inspiration. But sometimes it's not just the inspiration. For some people, what they need is like the general. They want somebody to tell them what to do, what to eat, when, what time, what exercise. Give me specifics. So, and if that's what they want, because they love that approach and they're used to that, you know, listening to where they're coming from. Maybe they're ex-military, or maybe that's how they were brought up. They're gonna love that too. So they come and I start telling them about this. They're like, no, give me a plan. I want a plan. Tell me, what do I need to do for breakfast? And that's fine. If that's what they're willing to accept and understand and learn from me at that time, that's what I'm gonna give them. So I know nutrition has to be personalized. Each individual is different. Back in the day at the hospital, I remember we had, you know, the standard diet for people with diabetes, 1200-calorie diet for the diabetic patient, and that was little flyer that we will give them as they were getting discharged from the hospital. Did they follow up? Who knows? Because at the hospital, you know, unless they were coming back with something else. But we know better now that it does not work. The diet that I give you might work for you, but it might not work for this other person. Even if you have similar numbers, if you come from the same background, it might not work. So, and that is important for us. I'm sure, I don't know if anybody here is a physician practicing. No. Well, if you will be, or if you know a physician, I'm sure you go to your doctor, right? Yeah. And I was sharing with them that I just went to my doctor last week, and it's a new doctor, and I was surprised to see how good he was, like with manners, like he was listening to me and explaining to me and asking me what do I do and why do I do this like that and my exercise and all, and that's very rare. But that got me to talk to him, and he was very impressed and with what I was talking about with nutrition. And we got to talk, and that's really what you want. The appointment was on time. I wasn't there for too long, but he did what he was supposed to do, which was listening. I know some people had questions about different diets. Do you have any questions about diets or anything specific that I should talk about? You've been very quiet. Yes, so Mediterranean diet, lots of research on Mediterranean, right? And I know a lot of cardiologists always go back to just go on the Mediterranean diet. Have you been to the Mediterranean? I personally haven't. I know people that have. I know people that have gone to Greece, right? And I know that when you go, you see a lot of what? You can share. Olives and what else? Fruit, cheese, right? Some wine, lots of bread. Yes. So, and that's my point. What I'm trying to get at is when somebody comes and they tell me, my doctor said I need to go on the Mediterranean diet. I'm like, okay, what is it about the Mediterranean diet that you want to adopt? Because I have this particular client that I remember, he came, he had the book, he was showing me everything in the book, and he said, that's great. So what are you doing from the book? Like that you learn? Well, I'm having a glass of wine every night. Okay. Like that's all you got from this book. Like that's your first, And he was like, well, they said it's good for me. And the doctor said it was okay. So he was never a drinker. He was zero alcohol. And the wife was there, and she was complaining about it. Now he's into this wine club, and now he's getting all these bottles, and it's accumulating. Okay, yeah, well, not judging, but that's not something that I will promote, right? We want the resveratrol, which is the antioxidant in wine that's supposed to help with inflammation, it's good for the heart, but we can get that same resveratrol from walnuts, from grapes. So I just want you to eat more of those. Maybe you don't have to go for the wine. So the Mediterranean diet is good when you have a dietitian that can really go through it and help you figure out what's a good meal plan. What is it that you can pick from the Mediterranean diet that can help you? We know healthy fats are important, and that's something I promote with the Mediterranean diet. So we want to eat more fish, right? Lean meat, so definitely more fish. And something I'm surprised, like lately I see a lot of people eating sardines. Do you guys eat sardines? No, they're stinky, right? You do, yeah. So, but sardines very high on omega-3, like salmon, right? But they're easier to get, and it's the convenience of just opening a can of sardines. You can take it to work if your coworkers don't mind this thing, but but they're actually great. It's a good source of healthy fats. So we want to eat more of those, right? Omega-3. Now, the Mediterranean also includes a lot of vegetables, but a lot of vegetables means go beyond the Caesar salad. A Caesar salad is not a vegetable to me. It's lettuce, yeah, but what else is in there? Cheese and dressing and croutons, like, and I see sometimes more of that than the lettuce in there. So if you want more vegetables, like you want to promote more variety. Each color of each vegetable provides a different phytochemical, different antioxidant. So we benefit from all of that variety. like I said in the beginning, I love to cook, and that's why I'm trying to get people to cook more. But that's the goal for me, to get people into eating different things. Not just the basic vegetables that we're used to, because you want to eat some purple, right? Like purple cabbage, your eggplants, you want to eat some reds, you want to eat some yellows, and that's how you really benefit from all of the nutrients that are in there. We will never obtain the same amount of nutrients from eating the pills, like the vitamins, or just take the quercetin from the capsule, or take this. We want to have the entire, that's why they call it whole food, right? We want the entire food, because there are many things that we have to take into consideration when we eat the whole food. We're eating a lot more than just that one vitamin that is in there. We're having a lot of the fiber, we're having water from it, we're having minerals from those vegetables and fruits, and that's really what we will benefit from, right? And there's a lot on gut microbiome, and right, if anybody here is taking probiotics, prebiotics, but there is a lot of on nutrition, there's a lot of research, ongoing research on the role that the microbiome plays on inflammation as well. And the Mediterranean diet is also very popular for that, right? To decrease inflammation. Now, dairy products, for some people, eating dairy is not the best idea because it promotes inflammation, right? And I know a lot of people, my clients and many people, complain of feeling, gases, discomfort, bloated. And if they're eating dairy and they pay a little attention, they will figure out, oh, okay, maybe I'm lactose intolerant. Maybe I shouldn't have, because it's not digesting well. Well, a lot of people are so used to feeling like that they don't even connect the two. And that's when we come in handy and we say, okay, let's start doing an elimination diet. Maybe you should be avoiding that, go more plant-based, and then let's see how you do for a couple of weeks. And we can say that maybe, yes, you do better without it. Many clients like to go and get tested for possible allergies and stuff. And that's when they will find out that maybe, yes, that was the thing that was causing X or Y symptom. So with dairy products, go easy with them. I would say if you're not lactose intolerant, you're used to drinking milk, eating your cheese, and you're fine with it, then fine. It means your body is able to process all of that. But if you're having issues, maybe that's one of the things that you have to avoid. And it goes the same with many other allergens, right? Like talking a little bit about inflammation. With gluten, the same thing. So people that have celiac disease, right? They cannot have any gluten. They get really, really sick. Now, that was back a couple of years ago, that was a very popular diet. Gluten-free, everyone wanted to go gluten-free, and people actually felt better. Now, gluten is the protein in wheat. So it's what gives the elasticity to pizza dough, right? Like that's how it expands and all of that. For some people, even if they are not celiac, that gluten cannot get digested well, and that's how they feel the symptoms, right? The bloat, again, tiredness. Or they say, my mind is not clear. I'm not saying it can be just that, but if you start to listen to your body, let's say I always put them on elimination diets. Before they even go for allergy tests, if it's not something major, I said, let's try this, keep a food diary. That's gonna help us the most. So if they're writing everything that they're eating and their symptoms, then we can start figuring out what is it that's causing what, right? So that's another big one. And for many clients, they do better without gluten because they're avoiding the breads and the cookies and the cake and the croissants and everything that is baked, like, bakery goods that have the fat and the sugar, which was causing them to maybe put on more weight around the midsection. So they say, I feel better, I've lost weight, or I've lost inches, I feel more flat, or I feel better, my digestion has improved. Well, great, right? That's definitely something that we want to hear. So never disregard like the comments or what your clients, your patients are coming in with, because if for someone that is the biggest concern, they just want to slim down on the waist, well, there is a lot we can do there. We can figure out what is it that you're not breaking down efficiently, what is it that is causing the symptoms, and it might be simple things like giving up on one, not a food group, but maybe one ingredient or one food or one type of sugar that they're having. Very important with, artificial sweeteners. For some people, artificial sweeteners really do create a problem in their gut. We know that like maltitol causes gas, and a lot of the diet foods, like the Atkins bars and all these, protein bars, they do have a lot of these artificial sweeteners in them. And some people are very sensitive to them. Kids, that same thing, I work with families too, and sometimes that's the major complaint. Oh, my kid, yeah, his stomach is always complaining. What are they eating? Every day they take a protein bar. Which protein bar? Let's see. Okay, then we dissect it. Look at the ingredients here. And not only that, now they're drinking a diet soda or diet water, infused waters. What is in there? More artificial sweeteners. Okay, let's eliminate that and see how done. That was it. That was what's causing the problem. So some people can live with it, and I know people that are big fans of NutraSweet or the yellow little packet or whatever they use, and they're okay. But just paying attention to that, because many times it's what you do regularly. If you drink a Diet Coke, like once a week, maybe that's fine. But if that's your daily, that can lead to some problems, right? So with the sugars, we know sugar promotes inflammation, right? I'm sure you've heard of that. So, but also diet sugars can promote inflammation. It's not just the plain cane sugar. Drinking your sugar in sugary drinks, it's another thing. And that's honestly like for a lot of the people that I work with that, that have the overnight shifts and stuff, they're not drinking coffee. They switch from a Red Bull to coffee to maybe regular Coke because they need to be up and they need the caffeine. But many times they're really overdoing it. And these extra sugars will sit there, right? Will sit there in their intestines. Not only is going to promote also the abdominal fat, but it's also going to affect their gut microbiome and inflammation. So sugar is the first thing that I try to get people to move away from. And it's really not easy because sugar is, right, not easy. You can hook on sugar, but your taste buds change. The cells on your taste buds change every 10 days or so. So if you start decreasing the amount of sugar you use in your coffee or whatever, little by little, your taste buds are gonna be like, okay, this tastes sweet, By a week or so after, you're gonna be like, I can drink this without sugar, and you're gonna be fine. But just as quick, you can go back to zero and start going back to your same old habits. So, but it's just a matter of time, even with salt. People that love their Chick-fil-A, I don't know if you guys are big fans of Chick-fil-A. Yeah, I find Chick-fil-A super salty. But some people, they just love the Polynesian sauce, that's you. Okay, you have the app and you get stars and points, right? That's why they get you coming back. That's a big one too, because sodium, right? And blood pressure, that's another risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And I'm sure you hear and people that are on medications and from very young age. I have a client, he's only 26, young, he runs, works overnight shifts, and his meals are all on the go. So breakfast at McDonald's, then barely drinks water, Red Bull to stay up, the lunch and dinner is gonna be drive-through, Chick-fil-A, whatever else he gets. We were calculating how much sodium he's getting because he's concerned that he's only 26 and he's been taking blood pressure medication now for over 5 years. And there was nothing else wrong with him. So when I showed him, like, look how much sodium you're getting. In one day, one of his journals was over 10,000 milligrams of sodium that he was consuming. So of course he was like, how, why? Okay, let me show you where, how, and all of these companies have the nutrition facts on their website. It's not like it's hidden. You can find it there. They show you. So I show him, and of course, now he understood where this is coming from. Not everyone with blood pressure is sodium sensitive, But maybe for him, that's why his blood pressure continues to go up and he cannot control it, right? So that's something that for him, it really opened up his eyes and he was able to make the changes that he needed to do.
Yeah, a question on that. What about the differences between different types of salt, like pink salt, Himalayan salt versus like sea salt? I know there's like, oh, use this one or use the other one. What's
Right.
the difference? I don't know.
Yes. So if you ask a chef, and I learned this, they're called all these fancy salts, the black sea salt, the Himalayan pink salt, all of these salts are supposed to be finishing salts, which means you don't use it while you're cooking your soup or your rice or whatever. You sprinkle after it's done. It's a finishing salt that is gonna hit your taste buds when you eat it. So now you're gonna get that flavor because that's what salt does, and enhances flavor. But you're not gonna need to use that much. So that's why you wanna use those salts. We know they have more minerals because those fancy salts, like usually they're not processed, right? They're not fine. The granules are actually thick, thicker than the regular table salt. And that's why you use it at the end. I think if you grill Argentina, right? So that's what you use, the very coarse salt, because you just want to add some flavor and you don't want to add it before you put that meat on the grill. So that's what it is. Not that it's necessarily healthier or lower in sodium. When you check on the, like the tables, the nutrition facts, it's pretty much the same as regular table salt, the amount of sodium. But it makes sense when you think of it like that. If you like to cook, you like to use them, just use them at the end. And any of those will be fine. I like the pink salt on my fish. And like if my family is grilling something, they're gonna use the Argentinian salt for barbecue. And that's a bigger grain. So it really depends on what you want to use it for. Now for my client, like with this kid, like he's 26, I call him a kid. For me, like, was I gonna get him to cook? No. Is that the ultimate goal? Yes, for him to prep his meals so he can take to work. But for now, for him, the best thing that I could do is tell him, when you go to Chick-fil-A, this is what you're gonna order, and you're gonna stay within these numbers for your sodium. If you're gonna go to Subway or if you go to Publix Deli, ask for low sodium cold cuts, because he's not ready for that, right? His lifestyle is not gonna allow him to start cooking from scratch and doing all of this from scratch. It's not realistic, but at least I got him aware, and now he understood. Like, yeah, this is what might be causing my blood pressure to spike up like that. Any?
What are other low fats or other low things that you wouldn't recommend help you
Besides sodium? Potato chips? Like what? I don't understand. Like,
so you have no fat, something, and then you have the regular one.
okay.
And to be more specific, maybe let's talk about butter and how there's low fat butter, maybe even low sodium, and there's regular one. And I had to do a paper when I found that the regular one was honestly better than any other synthetic kind of. So what is your opinion of that?
Yes, and that's very important, because back in the day we learned about hydrogenated oils and trans fats, right? Trans fats are those fats that are used in baked goods and chips, and they're pretty much, they were made in a lab. Trans fats were made so that the product lasts longer. It extended shelf life. So if you go to the supermarket and you look at cookies and all of that, you look at the expiration date, it might be a year from now, 2 years, and the ingredients, there is milk, there is butter, there is this and that, and they don't go back, because that fat was made for that, to give it a long shelf, life. We know that that was not good for the heart, right? That was shown to increase hardening of the arteries. We know trans fats are not good, and then they changed that on labels. You started to see that trans-free, trans-free, trans-free. So then the move was, okay, then the saturated fat, butter. That with all of the talk about good fat and bad fat, is it good for you or not? With butter, you started seeing a lot of the spreads made out of vegetable oils, right? Like maybe that's what you're referring to. All of those spreads, what's the popular? I can't believe it's not butter, like all of those, right? When you read on the ingredients, there is a lot of palm oil and safflower oil and you name it, like what's the other, soybean oil. So all of those are refined oils, we call them, and they're known to have, not known, but we know that they have more omega-6. So we're getting, that's where the ratio that maybe you've heard about, the omega-6, omega-3 ratio, too much omega-6 can cause inflammation. We get a lot of omega-6 from the foods that we eat because those fats are cheap, right? Most of the fast food industry and processed food industry uses those oils because they're easier to produce, right? We produce a lot of the corn oil and the soybean oil. So that's what is being used. And those are refined oils. High in omega-6 promotes more inflammation, not the best for the heart. When you look at a regular stick of Kerrygold butter, all you see on the ingredients is milk and cream and maybe salt, right? If you buy the salted or the unsalted. I personally recommend that over all of these other spreads that have, a bunch of different ingredients in there, different fats. They have to put stabilizers, they have to put thickeners in there, they have to put color to enhance the color or the flavor of that spread. So let's go back to basics. And that's where I go with my cooking. Like, let's go back to basics. Let's go back to using the real ingredients. Let's start avoid using everything that it has a whole list of ingredients in there. And that's my take on fats. If you're gonna use butter, don't eat tablespoons of butter. Like, don't overuse it, don't abuse it because it is a saturated fat. But it's still better fat. Personally, that's what I recommend over all of these vegetable spreads that are out there. Olive oil is still the king. So you can cook everything with olive oil. And one of the things that that we learned that with cooking with olive oil, if you cook it at a high temperature, the olive oil will burn. And maybe you've tried it, right? So you're not supposed to use it for that. For that, I will use maybe the avocado oil or canola oil. But if you're gonna use your good olive oil, use it for stir fries or for salads, to add to your veggies. But olive oil is still the healthiest that you can use with anything. I know some people, if you like to bake, maybe olive oil would be that aftertaste. I know picky eaters that won't use it in certain things because it changes the flavor, but otherwise you can live with olive oil for everything. But be careful with the olive oil spreads because there is not just olive oil in that margarine or in that spread. There's usually a lot of other ingredients in there.
So olive oil is expensive. So if you're gonna substitute or use for frying, which is the other that's best? Canola, vegetable, corn, what's best?
The canola oil. Canola oil and avocado oil is also very popular now. Now it's easier to find. And that's where all the nutrition research is very complicated. And I'm sure you see all the time on the news that this is good for you, this is bad for you. Oh no, avocado oil, if it's not cold pressed, then it's not good for you. Honestly, don't fry, right? Now we have air fryers. Have you guys used an air fryer? So with an air fryer, you get the crispy texture. You can put in there your Brussels sprouts, your asparagus, and do the same. If you want to put your chicken in there. The key is to eat less, right? We're not gonna deep fry things in olive oil. If you're gonna use it to pan fry, I use my olive oil for that. You can also use the canola oil, yeah. And then, but it's also if you like to eat fried fish, right? You want to eat fried fish that you make at home. But if you're gonna go, you have the habit of going to X restaurant and having their fried fish. Those oils that they use are being reheated and reheated. They do pick up. They strain it, so they remove a lot of whatever is left from the frying before, but that oil is being reheated, and that's why it's so bad for us. So that's another thing. If you enjoy that, culturally, we have foods that we like to eat, and I'm not against I love fried fish and I love my tostones, you know, the green plantains and stuff. I'm gonna make them at home because I'm using fresh clean oil. I don't have to, you know, save it for later like that. That's old school. Like some people used to do that, but no, get rid of that. Use clean oil all the time, and that makes it a lot healthier.
My question is actually two parts. So the first question, do you have any recommendation for a snack between the two main meal? What is your opinion about the peanut butter?
Okay, so a good snack, water first. That's the best snack that you can have. Second, tea without sugar. Honestly, and it depends. So if you're very active and you're gonna say like, oh, in between my, you know, breakfast and lunch, I'm gonna go to the gym. Okay, maybe I would recommend you to have maybe a banana with some peanut butter or some apple with peanut butter. You get some protein from the peanut butter, good fat, and you're getting some nice carb from that fruit. But if you're sitting, working on the computer, very sedentary all day, I don't want you to have a snack that has 200, 300 calories, right? That's gonna sit there. You're not necessarily using it. And it depends on what's your goal. Are you trying to lose weight or you're fine with your weight, but maybe you're trying to get just healthier options, or maybe you're hungry for real, like you drank water, but you're still hungry. So a good snack will always consist of a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat. The last thing I want you to eat is the carb. So not the cookie and your extra cup of coffee, because that's gonna be a lot of sugar and just that they're gonna sit there. I'd rather you have nut butters. Yeah, almond butter, peanut butter, not peanut butter pretzels though. You guys had that? So that's what I recommend for kids that want to bulk up and they're at the gym and stuff. Peanut butter pretzels, you put on weight quick. But so not for the majority of us. We don't want to be eating that. But that's what a snack should be, you know. And even with almonds and walnuts, they have the good fat in there, it's good calories, good a little bit of protein, but don't eat large amounts of it because they're very high in calories, right? So this lady, she switched from chips to almonds, which is great. But then we were like, why is that? You're still battling this. Why is it? Well, her habit was after work, she will sit to watch her sitcom, whatever, and she will eat 3 cups of almond, like the trail mix. So it was almonds with walnuts, with cranberries. But when she started measuring, it was 3 cups, like in an hour or so. Because mindlessly, she would just, yes, it's a better snack than the chips, but obviously she was consuming like 400 calories just there. So that's where you have to measure. Portion control is important, but also to understand that for a lot of people, trigger foods like the chips or the cookies or the popcorn, that portion control doesn't work. So I can tell them, open the bag and just put, 2 cookies in the bag and take that. No, they're gonna go back to the kitchen, they're gonna get another 2 cookies, another 2 cookies. So recognizing what are your trigger foods also will help you to, better your caloric intake and maybe be able to manage the cravings. Most of the time though, when you're feeling hungry and you know that you had a good breakfast, your body's just asking you for water. That's the first thing. That's why I said it's just the habit of going for the little snack or something. But if you drink a cup of tea or you drink your water and you're satisfied, fine. Just like a smoker, it's the urge to get something. So if you kind of give it a few minutes for that, hungry moment to dissipate, you'll be fine and you're gonna be able to make better decisions. This is also like mental, right? Habits. That's what we get. That's why we get in trouble. Nothing else. Yes, so cooking, yes. So if you don't have a lot of time, but you have your weekend, I always say start with your protein. Because you can cook on the weekend, you can make salmon and just cut it in, portion it so that you have at least your protein ready for a couple of meals. And it doesn't have to be every single day. If you start with 5 days, So maybe you do your own lunches at home for 3 days out of the 5 days. That's perfect. That's already incredibly good for you, right? You're decreasing amount of, first you're gonna be saving money, so you're not out and buying stuff. But also you're gonna get better quality of like nutrition. So I think if you start with your proteins, prepping those, the chicken, like that's another thing. You can make a big batch of, chicken breast, put some nice pesto in there. I love pesto sauce. It's the best thing because you get garlic and herbs, all of it in one little jar, and you can put that in a nice, platter of chicken breast, bake it, and you got chicken breast cooked for the week. And you don't have to add any other seasonings in there because it's so full of flavor. So start there, like what are gonna be my proteins? And then the side dishes, I love the salad kits, the little bags that come with the dressing. And I know some people tell me, no, but the dressing is a lot of salt or a lot of calories. Honestly, if you're eating that vegetable and you came from not eating any, but you need that dressing in there, go for it. Baby steps. If you're a very clean eater, okay, let me give you a recipe how to make your dressing from scratch and let's make it healthy. But those salad kits are amazing. I also recommend a lot. Do you go to Trader Joe's? No, do you guys have one nearby or around here? But yeah, yes, they have really good options for vegetables. The frozen, like the variety of things that they have there. So frozen vegetables are good, just as fresh, or even better because they preserve more of their nutritional value. So if you go with frozen vegetables, again, put it in the air fryer. I like the texture of them in the air fryer better than the microwave, of course. But that's also a nice side dish that you can take care of quickly without having to do much. There is a company, Path of Life, is the name. They're frozen quinoa. They also have rice, but quinoa and beans mixed with kale and the other variety of vegetables. And they're little bags, individual, or if you go to, if you have a family of 4 or something, like you go to Costco, BJ, they have the larger bags. But those are great too. And you get the quinoa, so you get your carbohydrate, you get the vegetables in there. And that's something that you can quickly put together, like put it in the microwave or on the stove top or on the air fryer, and you got your side dish right there and then. If you're trying to go more plant-based, so plant-based doesn't mean you have to become vegan or vegetarian. That's important also, because when I hear that, it doesn't mean, it only means that you need to eat more plants. And that's what I like to promote. Eat more plants. Don't necessarily go to the extreme if you're not ready, but eat more plants. So those frozen vegetables mixed with quinoa or with other grains, they're definitely a good alternative for a nice quick side dish that you can quickly put together. So there are options. There are many options. It's just having the right guidance, right? And then when you see it like that, you're like, okay, I can do this. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a loaded question, but I think you're the right person to answer this. Are there any specific challenges that particular subgroups face that perhaps common folks are not aware of, such as, for example, certain racial groups, maybe certain cultural groups, maybe gender based on age, income, maybe even sexual orientation, that they are facing specific challenges in nutrition or access to the right nutrition that I think all of us should be aware of so we can overcome some of their problems.
Right. Yes. So February is Black History Month. So we're talking a lot about that because for Black African Americans, one of the most common medical conditions, they suffer from heart disease, and specifically, right, it starts with blood pressure. So like I was sharing with this client that I have, the 26-year-old, that's one of his big issues. And because he comes from a family that, dad, mom, they all had high blood pressure. They both had the heart disease. They both died of a heart attack. Of course, he's scared. But I know and I understand that, yes, there is a generic factor there. But when you start paying attention to what's the history behind, cultural differences with diet and meal planning and all of this, they consume a large amount of sodium, high saturated fats, very little vegetables, right? And unfortunately, it's because they don't have access to them many times, but it's also, it hasn't been, taught from the home environment, right? The parents both working. I know there are specific vegetables that they like, and maybe they're used to do like those two, like okra, collard greens they like, corn. But when you look at really, are they eating that on a regular basis? No. That's like when mom cooks, we go on the weekend and that's what we eat. But during the week, you're not getting any of that. I wish they were, they knew even how to cook that, but most of the people don't. So getting into that, and that's one of the things that we look at. Where are you coming from? What are you used to eating, and are you willing to start eating more of the fruits and vegetables? We know, like with blood pressure, we know how important it is to eat more magnesium-rich vegetables. And I know a lot of people take the magnesium supplements, but magnesium is also found in spinach, right? Like we can get it from there, on pumpkin seeds. So like getting the education part of it there, and that's something they will be willing to eat. So many times what I end up doing, it also depends where they're starting from, right? When the juicing diet came about a few years ago, everyone was juicing vegetables and tons of spinach and kale in the smoothies and all of that. So for some of them, if that was the only way they were gonna start eating that spinach, because they would drink it and that's it, to me, that was success. They were coming back, I'm drinking spinach now. Like, okay, that's great. Yeah, okay, love it. Okay, that's a good step. We go from there. The other important mineral, potassium, right, for blood pressure. So where are you getting your potassium? Well, I eat a banana every day. Okay, that's good, the banana. But what else? Like strawberries are a good source of potassium. There's so many, like I call bird fruit to all the seeds and nuts. So to get them into that is important. And I always say, yes, genetically you might be predisposed, but we know better now. It's not your genes, right? The environment changed your genes. So let's change your environment. Let's get the family on the same page, try to, so they can understand why is this important, how we can make it healthier. And that's where you have to get your family involved, like the client's family, and you get more successful stories when you do.
You talk about the environment. What if, so people maybe, you mentioned lack of access, right? And what are some low cost things that people can do? If you're ever in a situation where you're advising someone who maybe can't afford, to shop at a Whole Foods, for example, right? What are the kind of things that you recommend for people who might want low cost options but want to start making a lifestyle change?
Yes, so very important, because I hear that a lot, right? Eating healthy is super expensive. I cannot afford, it's not true. And more when you read on, the journals of nutrition and public health, it shows like when you compare what you're spending at the drive-through, and I know it's, for them, like I get 2 burgers for $1 and I get, a full meal for my kids for $1, $2. But when you explain to them and you tell them, okay, instead of that, what if we buy a pound of ground beef, even if you want to, make your burgers from scratch? And we start doing the math, it really is a lot less that they're going to be spending. Also, they don't have to go to Whole Foods. I have this client that him and his girlfriend, because that's what they were told, that Whole Foods, if they want to get healthier, buy your groceries at Whole Foods. They both became vegan. And so when I started looking at their food diary, every Thursday and Friday, vegan pizza from Whole Foods. 2 days a week, vegan pizza from. So both diabetic, they weren't doing much better. So it doesn't have to be. I love, the farmers market. So they have access to all of this, and I know, like, for some people it's the convenience. Okay, you go to Walmart, you go to Aldi's, go get the frozen vegetables. You can get a lot more from them rather than canned, right? I'm moving a lot of people from canned items, like the canned corn. When you compare sodium, the frozen corn doesn't have it, but the can has a lot of sodium and sugar in there also. So moving to frozen, I promote frozen vegetables and fruits all the time, because that's the only other thing, especially when they're changing, they might get, they can go a little bit out of hand and they start buying all this produce, and then, oh, but everything went bad because we didn't get to use it. Well, I don't want food waste also. If you buy frozen, you're not gonna end up with fruit flies, you know, in your kitchen, because it's gonna be frozen, but you can use it and utilize it for making stews, if it, you know, or making your smoothies, whatever it is. But I think that's the first step for them to, when you do the math with them, it really pays off, because that's when they're gonna understand it. And, you know, telling them where to go. Walmart has great prices. They also have, even if you want to go organic, they have a lot of organic options there. I love Aldi. Aldi has also a great selection. The prices are really good, and they also have a lot of organic if you wanted to go that route. But definitely the farmers markets and the little stores, like it depends on the communities where you go to. Like for the Hispanic community, a lot of people, they still want to go to the Presidente, you know, like the local supermarkets where they get the special meats and the special, but even there, when you go, there is good stuff there. You know, there are healthy options there. They just need the one hand, you know, like here, let me show you what's in here. I get circulars from all the supermarkets, so I can, here, where do you go to this, you know, which store do you like to go to? Okay, let's see what you can get from there. And there is really no excuse. You're not going to spend more money. No. And yes, if you still want to go to your, you know, favorite place on Fridays to get your pizza and wings and make it a special occasion, but let's try to figure out how to improve your nutrition, your health by changing, you know, your daily routine. It's really consistency, right? Like that's what's going to lead to the greater changes, and especially with their health and their cardiovascular health, because that's where it all starts. And I know you've heard, but so many people with pre-diabetes now. That's one of the most common.
I have a question for you. I was told that if I'm going to eat vegetable that's not organic, I should not eat it because of the glyphosate that's being sprayed. So would you rather somebody doesn't eat veggies, or at least eat the veggies that's been, you know, sprayed?
Correct. I'd rather you eat the veggies.
You'd rather you eat the veggies.
Of course, and again, that's where you're starting from. I cannot ask this family of 5, you know, to go with the organic spinach, because it's not. For me, it's like, let's get them into the vegetable, develop a taste for it, learn how to cook it. That's a first great step. And yes, with, you know, all of these chemicals that are on the produce, and it is hard. And I know maybe you've heard about them, like the 7, what's the list? The what? The special 7 or the clean 7 or something vegetables that you should be careful with. Yes.
You should eat organic apples.
Right, because of the skin. Yes. So like, for example, at Aldi's, I get organic apples and the price is really good. Why do I get the organic apples there? Because my kids love apples, and that's something we eat a lot of. So that's also another thing, but it's individual. Like, I don't want to say in general that's what everyone should be doing. But if there is something that you consume a lot of and you can afford to go with the organic, one of those, you know, like with the apples, because on the skin they usually put a lot of the pesticides and whatnot, maybe that's a good option for you. You know, remove the skin maybe of a regular apple and have that. But the nutritional value, like the studies show that it's almost similar. Like there is not really a big difference there on nutrients. And most of the people that you see out there are nutrient deficient. They're not necessarily, you know, when you look at their numbers, whatever, it's not that they're having, you know, I don't know if we can measure, but like how much toxins they have from eating X or Y. But to me, is getting them to get the nutrition out of the food. And vegetables and fruits, they have it. So yeah, I'm not already concerned with that. I had a client that she was overly obsessed with organic foods, but she was a smoker. So to me, it was like, no, like that's not your priority. Like, please, like, we need to quit smoking. That's the first thing, you know. The organic apple is not gonna help you. So yeah. Yes. So, you know, see where you're at and where you can better, like, you know, get better in that. But same thing for exercise. I think that is just as important. And I get that question a lot. Like, so So what's more important, exercise or nutrition? To me, okay, what are you willing to do first, right? Because to me, exercise can lead to much better like outcomes and changes because now you're motivated. We know exercise is therapy for the brain, right? We know it makes us feel good. So if that's where you need to start, like, let's get there. Let's get you walking. And then by walking, you're gonna feel better energy so you can get home and maybe put together a salad. And that's a big, like compromise, but that's something that definitely will lead to change. If I tell you, every night make a salad, but this person is tired after work, he's gonna go there, he's not gonna do that. But maybe he's willing to get out of work and step at the park and walk around. His mood is gonna change. He's gonna go home and he's gonna feel, it's gonna be easier for him to accomplish the making the salad part. So to me, it's just as important. We need to move, right? We need to move. And even if it means 5 minutes every day, that's still worth it. If you give me 5 minutes every day, that leads to changes in your habits, and that's gonna lead to changes, hopefully, in your blood sugars, your blood pressure. But if you give me 1 hour at the gym on Saturdays, or a marathon on Sunday, or a mud race on days, and that's 1 day, and then you're so in pain that you're not gonna go back to that like in another month, and we didn't accomplish anything. So don't have these expectations because that's not gonna lead to change. So 5 little minutes.
What do you think about dyes like red 40, yellow seeds, blue one? I became really concerned with studies that show they are like linked to tumors, and then I realized they're in everything, seasoning, sauces, everything.
Yes, so the popular ones, I think yellow number 40 or red number, those two are the ones of major concern. And if you go into the NIH, like there are so many studies that show the correlation with those food dyes and behavior, and especially on kids. So, and that's why I like Aldi, because they don't have foods there that have any color dyes. Like even their cereals, you can get the Fruit Loops, but whatever brand they have there without the color dyes. So yes, I think it's in Europe and even in Venezuela, they have like stronger restrictions on that. But here, no. So you can look for that. And I say, like, from what I've read, it's especially of a concern with kids, because imagine their size, right? So they accumulate more of these extra added ingredients, and it can lead to some, but they were saying more behavioral disorders. So yes, if you can stay away from that, and most of the food that have those are very highly processed foods. But I've seen it in butters and spreads and dressings, coffee creamers. So yeah, like pay attention to that and try to avoid it. Okay, we did good on time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So that was going so awesome. I told Sharon we just actually finished with Claudia because it was such a good conversation. So we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. We want to give you something here. Appreciation of you coming and spending Heart Day with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad that I was able to share with you my expertise.
Thank you. So the last order of business then for today, what we're going to do is finish with awards for the poster presentation. So I don't know if some of you didn't even know you were being evaluated. We're giving out 3 awards to the top 3 sport posters. I've confirmed that number 3 is not here, but the 3rd place for the poster was Mr. Daniel Chaparro. In 2nd place, the 2nd highest score was Mr. Assad Mirza. It's a long sleeve t-shirt. And the top scored poster is Denise Shu. Well, thank you all again so much for coming out. Been good to be back in person this year, and we definitely look forward to doing this again next year. All right?